Hello guys, David Vose here. Boys, it's a beautiful day. Oh man, I don't think I've ever experienced a better spring. The sun is just so magnificent, and it feels like it's just healing. The sunshine just healing me as I'm sitting here. I think it's important that people should go out in the morning. They call them sun worshippers, but perhaps those pagans had some good ideas. I don't know, but it certainly does heal emotionally and physically. And it seems to draw out all your poisons and um, gives you vitamins and energizes you. I believe it's energy. I believe it's some kind of, you know, we now know in modern times we have a thing called radiation. It's not just the fact that it feels warm, but, that's even how the body gets rid of disease by having a temperature. In some cases, you have chills, but heat is a very important thing. It's the effect of energy, and energy is life. But, friends, I want to go on a deep, deep dive today and try to explain something that is apparently contradictory in the Bible, and something that is so contradictory and so crazy that I think it's the reason why people don't even see it in the Bible. Because someone who wants to believe in the Bible in every detail, they know when in their heart it's true. Some person over here says, "Oh, there's a contradiction." And we're like, we don't care because it doesn't look like a contradiction. It's just another point of view, or it's poetry. We're not quite sure if it has to always agree when you're talking about poetry. Did the man have a sword or was it a bow? Is it important? We go back into mythology, there were certain deities that had bows and some that had swords, and it seems like the ones who had the bows also sometimes had swords. Can we just take a character in the Bible and say, well, that character is definitely this person in Greek mythology? It's very difficult because we only have a couple of generations and to work with when we're talking about Noah, Shem, Ham, and Jacob, the 12 tribes. A lot of similarities in the Greek with the 12 Olympians. Zeus being a son of Kronos, who castrates his father Uranus. Well, in our Bible, we've got Ham, who castrates his father Anu, Noah. But if Ham's the bad guy, it's interesting because in our Bible, not necessarily in our Bible as we have it, but kind of, it's vague. But you get a Bible that's got more of it, more Apocrypha or the book of Jubilees or Jasher or something. You see that Seth is the replacement for Abel, comes down to Noah and then goes through Noah. Noah has 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And we always think, well, Shem's the good guy, the father of Eber, the Hebrews. And they go down to Jacob. That's the good guys. That's the whole Bible. That's the chosen Israel. That's all the good guys. And Ham, that's the black guy. See, he got cursed. We don't like that. But in the story, that's how we've been told the story, because of course we've been following Judaism. And they have a whole tradition and all their stories and battles and defeats of the enemy. And so in their story, Shem kills Nimrod. Nimrod's a son of somebody who's the son of Ham. So Nimrod's, in our mind, he's this mighty hunter, the Bible calls him, against Jehovah. The mighty hunter against Yahweh. But the mighty hunter is in the sky. It's Osiris. And Osiris was the good guy. And he was, and this other bad guy, Seth, was trying to kill him. Huh? So it's all backwards. In Greek mythology, Zeus is the son of Kronos, the son of, is this Ham? Zeus is the son of Ham? But he doesn't like his father. I mean, they're fighting. Zeus doesn't have a sword. He's got a lightning bolt. He's also got like a staff of some kind, like the ruler's staff. His brother's got a trident, and Hades got a key, but no swords. We got to go all the way down to, let's see, Apollo is Zeus's son. And Apollo's got a bow. Sometimes he's got a sword. Sometimes he's got a sword. But Apollo is also like the sun, even in the pictures. The blazing sun. He comes, he's scorching. The sun's not always good. Sometimes the sun scorches your crops. Especially places down in Africa or Egypt where there was a lot of sun. Sometimes they hated the sun and they wanted winter. But the sun could be a good thing in spring, of course. But there always seems to be two different deities. Like there's Horus on the horizon rising out of the dead, right? Well, Horus's father is Osiris, and Osiris is Orion that rises in spring. It's got a bow. Osiris has got a bow. Nimrod's got a bow. The mighty hunter is Osiris. But the guy that's trying to kill Osiris is Set. And in our Hebrew Bible, it's Seth, who comes down through the flood in the line of Shem, the good guys. And Shem tries to kill Nimrod. So, according to Greek mythology, Shem is the bad guy. You understand? Shem is the bad guy trying to murder the great mighty hunter Nimrod. Now, in the Bible, you might say, oh yeah, well, they're all screwed up down there in Samaria. They don't know what they're talking about. And those Egyptians are stupid as heck. And those Greeks, who the heck is a Greek? We don't even care about these people. All we care about is our Bible. Okay, well, let's look at the Bible. The Bible says that this birthright that Nimrod has, he's got a birthright. He ain't just some evil man, In the Bible, he's kind of, it doesn't portray him as evil, except that he's a mighty hunter, apparently the way it's translated, against Yahweh. A mighty hunter against the Lord. We assume that means he didn't like God, right? Of course, nowadays we understand that there might be a problem with this deity, Yahweh, who's so vengeful and hateful. And is this the same as our Lord Jesus? So we're trying to figure this out. But if we're going to say Nimrod's a bad guy, okay, here's the problem. He's got something that the good guy wants. Now, if he's the good guy, wouldn't he just be given this great gift from the Lord? Would he steal, murder, and cheat to get it? So Esau, another bad guy, right? The Yahweh hates Esau. He loves Jacob, but he hates Esau. But Esau goes and has a battle with Nimrod and defeats Nimrod and cuts off his head. Oh, that's similar with John the Baptist, who got his head cut off. It's a little bit similar to Noah's got his wee-wee whacked off, right? He was castrated. There's similarities here, trust me. John, Anu, Ranos, Jonos, On, Noah, it's, the Father, right? No one greater, born of woman. And I've said before that there could only be a couple of possibilities for whoever is the greatest among men, born of women. It can't be Adam because he wasn't born of a woman. And he was our father. But there is one who was born of a woman who would be the greatest that would be in this world, and that would be Noah, because he's the father of everyone in this world, and he was born of a woman. Noah, On, Anu, January, Anu, Uranos in the Greek tongue. Well, Anu and On, as it's pronounced then, and today we pronounce it John, the baptizer, because January goes into the watery areas of Aquarius and Pisces and takes us through the water. So if Nimrod's bad guy, because he's from that bad guy Ham, which in mythology must be Saturn or Kronos in the Greek. But the story is that Kronos has got a sword. That's how he whacks off his daddy's, that's how you cut somebody's head off, too, right? So Kronos has got a sword. Which of these deities got a sword? Well, Kronos has got a sword. His son Zeus has got a lightning bolt, but they don't like each other either. But Zeus, then, the great hero, the leader of the Olympians, the 12, is a son of Nimrod? Is a son of Ham? Wait a minute now, the good guy's got to be the son of Shem, right? How did Jacob become a son of Shem and Esau, the one he hated, become a son of Ham when they're brothers? Come out the womb, they're twins. Oh, well, there's another Greek mythology that's got twins. Apollo and Artemis. Well, it's interesting because Apollo is known for the bow. And he sends out his arrows. And he's the word Apollo means the destroyer. The Antichrist means Apollo, the destroyer. All the way through the Greek in the Bible, when you see Antichrist, it's Apollyon, whose name in Hebrew is Abiddon, or Father Abi Adonai, Yahweh. So, Apollo's got a bow. Sometimes he's got a sword. But Apollo's got a bow. And he wields that bow quite well. And he's got arrows, and they're poison arrows. Apollo is the son of Zeus. Zeus is the son of Ham. We're on the bad side here, right? According to what we always was told, right? These Canaanites got to be cursed. Children of Ham got their dark skin because they were cursed, right? Well, wait a minute. Zeus has a son named Perseus, but he marries Andromeda, whose father is Cephas, and Cephas is an African king, and his father is either, I think it's Belus, or sometimes they say Phoenix, which, remember, Phoenix is the star that we call Polaris today, also in the north. Cephas is right near Phoenix, or Polaris. They interchange as over a period of a few thousand years to be our North Star. But Cephas, the father, his throne is in the north, just right by Polaris. Well, they called Polaris Phoenix. So they said that was his father in some cases. Usually his father is Belus. They say his mother was Acturo, the daughter of Nilus. And get this, his brothers and sisters, Phineas, Egyptus, see, this is from Ham, and Danis, which might be who the Greeks are of the Tuatha De Danann. And it might not be Dan of the tribe of Jacob. But Egyptus is definitely from Ham. And so Cephas, the king of Africa, is a descendant of Ham. And this is who Perseus goes to marry. Perseus, though, is the son of Zeus, who again appears to be the son of Kronos, who castrated his father Uranos, which means he's probably Ham. So old Jesus, he is obviously represented by Perseus riding on the white horse Pegasus, who saves the bride, goes to the Father's kingdom to bring his bride, who he has to save in a battle defeating a great dragon. This is what the story of our Bible is, the story of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene in the book of Revelation. Huh? What's he burying those black women down there for? The Ethiopians, and her mama was Cassiopeia. Well, they had a daughter, Ethiopia, and Cassiopeia, and their daughter was Andromeda, and Andromeda is not even in the star system. It's out there. It's this whole nother galaxy, according to our amazing scientists. They know that little glimmer out there, it's not even a star. It's a whole nother galaxy. So it would be so far away from us that it's not, like stars are 50 light years, 100 light years, 1,000 light years away. Our galaxy's 200,000 light years across. Well, so imagine how far it is to another galaxy. How they would get here, I don't know. But according to the Bible, Ethiopia, which is the word for Africa, they're children of Andromeda. These are dark peoples from Africa. And Zeus and Andromeda, Perseus, killing the great dragon in the sea, Medusa, he does it with a sword. We've got Jesus in Revelation chapter 19 coming with a sword called it's got the word Pan in it, but it means he's the Almighty, all Pan, not necessarily the all or the Pan mighty, but the all perfect, the all amazing, the all complete, if you translate it correctly. It's translated the Almighty. And he's coming in his wrath. And he's got a crown. No, he's got many crowns. Well, Apollyon's only got one crown, a golden crown. And he's got a bow. And in Revelation chapter 6, as we're going to find out, there he is again with a bow. And this is going to get very interesting. But then we go to Revelation chapter 19. We got a white horse, and he's got a crown, many crowns. And he's got a sword coming out of his mouth. Maybe it's a little more spiritual. But what's he going to do? Kill the dragon? Of course, the dragon's the bad guy. Okay, well, but the dragon's got a rider, and the rider is a woman. Well, it's kind of funny because these stories are very interrelated. So, Apollo has a twin sister named Artemis. Artemis is the huntress. And Apollo is kind of like the hunter, the man with the bow, the mighty hunter. So we're talking about children of Ham still. And Artemis, the huntress, she's also got a bow. And this is why I say that in the Bible, where we are supposed to eat bread and wine, the word used there is artos. And artos, the root of it is Artemis, because she is the huntress. My chicken's trying to get up. The dog was in her chair, and so she was upset. So she told the dog get out of her chair, and so Buster moved. Now she's sitting in the chair, and she's going to lay an egg. She comes up there on the porch every day in a chair. There's a easy boy chair, or a kind of a cushion chair on the porch, and she just wants to lay her egg there. And she just lays it and then leaves. She just leaves me a nice little golden egg. And the other ones they lay their eggs in the chicken coop, and out through wherever they're out in the woods, they may lay some. But she lays it right there on every day. Anywho, so she's quieted down now. But Artemis is the huntress, and they're twins, Apollo and Artemis. And Apollo and Artemis are children of Zeus. And Zeus is the child of Saturn, Kronos, Satan, who's what, the bad guy? Well, Osiris is the mighty hunter. Try to follow along. The mighty hunter is Nimrod in the Bible, the son of Ham. So Osiris, Nimrod, is the good guy. The bad guy in our Bible is Shem, Jacob. In our Bible, he's the good guy. He's trying to kill Nimrod because he's an idolater. He doesn't worship Yahweh. Right? That mean old hunter. So, Shem, Jacob's trying to kill Esau. Esau gets the birthright from Nimrod after he cuts his head off. So Esau, though he's the brother of Jacob, they're twins. That's a little bit like Apollyon and Artemis, but that's brother and sister. And I don't even know if they're not like these huge rivals. They're, in fact, both hunters. Apollyon's a hunter, Artemis is a huntress, eating meat, wild animals. But she's also Mother Nature. Artemis is also the moon, Selene sometimes. But Artemis is not considered bad because she's got a bow. She's a huntress, but she's also Mother Nature. You know, she's one with the animals. She's the mother of the hearth. And remember, another child of Zeus is Perseus. Very good match for Jesus. Remember, Zeus is on the bad side, on the Ham side, right? And so Perseus is a son of Zeus, a son of Ham, and Perseus wants to wed Andromeda. Andromeda is a far, far galaxy, not part of this group. The Greeks are up here in Europe, or in, where Greece is, and Turkey, Europe, Italy, right? And one of their kids is Ethiopia and Cassiopeia. And they have this child, Andromeda. So Zeus is married to an Ethiopian, or Zeus's son, Perseus, who is the hero and kills the dragon, Medusa, with all the snakes. So all of this Greek mythology is on the side of Ethiopia's side, or Ham's side, Egyptus, which is Egypt. They had a long-standing history with the Egyptian peoples. Poseidon was one of the sons of Noah, Japheth. So the Greeks are supposed to be Poseidon? The Greeks are supposed to be... No, from Danaus, from Dan, from Danis, from Zeus or something. So it's very difficult to weed all this out. But one thing we can certainly say for sure is at this time in history, when we're reading Greek mythology, we're not too concerned. They're not too concerned with biblical mythology, although every nation is going to have their mythology. It's going to intertwine at some point. But it's hard to know that, if you're just casually looking at this, that the Greeks didn't care anything about Abraham, or maybe they had Abraham in their mythology, but we're going to have to find him. But one thing we can say is that the Greeks were concentrating on the lineage of Ham and the Ethiopians. And so originally these older Greeks, which, by the way, goes down to what they call Hercules, which I think is in our Bible, Samson. But Hercules goes down to be one of the deities, and then this lineal descent of these royal bloodlines from this deity, Hercules, comes down to Alexander the Great and even the Caesars. So the Caesars, that, remember now, some of the Romans from the Flavius line, Flavius Josephus took their name, a Judean, but Titus Vespasian, these were Flavians. The Vespasian was the father, then he had a son named Titus, and there was Nero, and these ones were Flavians. Now, Flavian means blue-eyed, blonde hair. So, now, we're not sure, because it doesn't appear that Julius Caesar is of that same Flavian line, but it still appears that in statues, he looks Greek, like Alexander the Great has the Greek nose for sure. And they look to be, the Ptolemies and all of these guys appear to be white individuals. And in their story, they go back to Zeus. And Zeus is the son of Ham, according to our Bible. Now, it could be that back in those days, all the peoples of the world were all one color. I mean, at some point, when you go back to Babylon, they were all there trying to make a tower to Babel. They were all together in one accord. just like on the day of Pentecost, in one accord, right? Up there in the upper room, it was all furnished and waiting for them. It was prepared for them, because the upper room is when you go around the wheel from the realm of darkness up into the light. You've got to have higher consciousness. We're advancing to the light. I don't know why people keep saying we're going into the age of Aquarius. I mean, certain ones of you are out there still talking about this, and we're not going down into the darkness. I guarantee it. We're going to the light, right? As the sun comes out of the east and shines unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. As the chariot of the sun rides across with his 4 steeds across the heavens, that's the day. Right? The day, or the kingdom of Uranus, or Anu, the highest light. We're the children of the day, not the children of the night. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. How can you be going back into the night with the kingdom of the Lord? So anyway, there at Babel, they were all there, all the nations. And there were, according to the rabbis, 72 nations were at the Tower of Babel. And this is to do with Deuteronomy 32, where it says he set the bounds of the peoples, of the nations, by the children of Israel. What does that mean? According to the number of the children of Israel, he set their bounds. So is it saying that, and remember, Yahweh is one deity, and he's jealous, and he's angry at the other deities, and the other deities or nations have their own deities. But Yahweh, his people, his lot fell upon Israel. But he set the bounds. So somehow he's this deity of Israel, Yahweh, the deity of vengeance, Apollo. He is choosing this Jacob and hating Esau. Yahweh is. And he tells them to kill Nimrod. He tells them to kill Esau. Or at least lie to him and deceive him and steal the birthright. So if we're going to say that Nimrod's the bad guy in our Bible, like the Bible says, then why would our good guy, our good deity, a deity of vengeance and jealousy, already we're starting to have some little eyebrows raised? And he's literally not just called the deity of vengeance, but he's telling him to genocide and kill people and go out with horseback and go in and rape and pillage the nations and kill them all and make them submit like a colonizer, an inquisitor. And remember, if you look up in Europe and you see the emblems and the heraldry, they always got a white horse. And on the white horse is a man, and he's got a sword, and he's poking a dragon. And guess what that dragon is? Usually it's symbolizing Tartaria. Huh? The dragon is Tartaria? And Tartaria conquered the world, and the white horse, England, Britain, the Vikings, are still trying to kill all the indigenous peoples of Tartaria. Killing the dragon, right? Poking them with swords and got bows and arrows and doing battle with the dragon. Well, this is the book of Revelation. And so, a lot of Europeans claim to be Caucasians because of the Israelites. They went over the Caucasus Mountains. And we've talked about Dan, and he went, and everywhere he went, he named a river after himself or a city. London and Danzimark and Swedan and the Danube and the Danister and the Donix and the, Dins and Dans and Dons and everywhere. We talked about the Red Hand up there in Ireland and all of this. It's hard to know. There are 2 different versions of these stories sometimes. We don't know if the Tuatha De Danann is the tribe of Dan or from some tribe named Dana, which was a Greek, which we don't know who they were. They could have been children of Zeus, which we say goes back to Ham. It's very difficult to weed this all out. Some people are assuming one thing or another. But we've got this little problem that people keep pointing out, that Revelation keeps talking about this white horse. And in 2 cases, the white horse has a bow and 1 crown. He has a golden crown upon his head, and he has a bow. And if you look at that picture, that is Apollo. And you can see his crown, his golden crown is the sun. He is the sun. He's crowned with the sun. And it tells you in the Bible that Jesus was crowned with the sun. It does tell you that. Well, we'll get back to that. Later on in Revelation chapter 19, Jesus has many crowns. The stars, each of the stars are his crown. A crown of 12 stars. You know, the woman has a crown of 12 stars, which is the astrological wheel. And Jesus ends up with a crown of many stars by the time we get to Revelation 19. And we're going to read it here in a second. And he has a sword protruding out of his mouth. And in that case, it calls him faithful and true. We know it's Jesus, the Word of God. Jesus has a sword, but thankfully it's not in his hand, it's in his mouth. So it's spiritual warfare. And he's got a white horse, and he's coming to conquer. What's he trying to conquer? The dragon, the false prophet, the beast? But that's Perseus, the son of Zeus, the son of Ham. And Perseus kills this dragon. Well, several of them do this killing of the dragon. We got Daphne and that whole story. In Quora, it has this to say about Zeus. One day Zeus struck Apollo's son Asclepius with a lightning bolt for resurrecting the dead. So in revenge, Apollo killed the Cyclops who fashioned the lightning bolts for Zeus. Then Zeus was about to banish him to Tartarus for that offense. But his mother intervened and pleaded for mercy, so Zeus sent Apollo to do hard labor on earth as a mortal for a year under Admetus. Still, neither of these two seemed to bear grudge against each other after all of this. Now, I want to point out, it appears that when you're talking about Greek mythology or any other mythology, you're looking at the sky and you're looking at the stars, and these stars are the deities. And so sometimes we forget this. Apollo is probably the same as Osiris because he's the mighty hunter. And he's coming up in spring. So that's the start of a good thing, summer, right? It's the beginning of the dawn. It's a good thing. But where did Artemis and Apollos come from? Where did Osiris come from? Well, they were from the realm of the dead. They died. They were sentenced to hell, to Tartarus, by Zeus, their father. And so they are thrown down. Well, all the stars go down over the horizon at night, and they come back in the morning. Of course, on an astrological basis, they go down, over periods of thousands of years, and then they arise on the horizon in the precession of the equinoxes and so forth, and you have this astrological time. But it appears that all the deities die. They're half men and half deities. They're not full deities. All the full deities are from Uranus back. From Noah back before the flood. Those were the full-fledged deities, the divine beings. But then there was another group that came along after the flood that were like demi-deities. And a lot of them were punished by Zeus. Or, not necessarily by Uranus usually. He's a pretty good guy. Zeus is always punishing them, sending them to Tartarus. And he has this big war. Zeus fights, and his Olympians, the 12, right? Those are the good guys. They're fighting the darkness. And they're coming up on the horizon in the light and throwing their brethren down in the darkness on the other side. The stars are going down the bottom of the wheel. And it's like punishment. Because in the real world, people live and then die. And it appears that the giants, the 6 fingers, 6 toes, are these stars. And they're all thrown down. There's no favoritism. They all go round and round. And eventually Zeus will go down around the other side too and have to come back up. Except for the immortal ones that are in the north. And that's where in the Greek mythology, the Cephas, the father, and Cassiopeia, these are figures that are in Africa. So Cephas is an African king, and Cassiopeia is an Ethiopian African queen. And they have a daughter, an African princess named Andromeda. So they're all black. Remember the Black Madonna? And these guys are all children of Zeus, children of Ham. Do you understand that Perseus is trying to save this Ethiopian princess, Andromeda? As we've said, by the way, happens to be a whole other galaxy in reality, at least according to the reality of NASA. They got this little star out there that looks like another star, but they claim it's so far away it's actually another galaxy. Aliens? Are black people from another galaxy? So here we are talking about mythology, Greek mythology, that is about Perseus killing the dragon. This is the whole story of the Bible. With a sword, Perseus kills Medusa and whacks off her head. Or goes and kills the great beast Cetus to save Andromeda, the Ethiopian princess. And they are wed, and they're happily wed ever after. But remember, this is all in the northern hemisphere that reigns over all the world. The one who reigns over all the world is Cephas and his wife Cassiopeia and their daughter Andromeda and Perseus, who marries her, and they're in the north, and they reign over all the world, and these are Ethiopians. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? And then Perseus wants to marry their daughter, Andromeda, so he's got to go down into hell and fight the dragon. But he's trying to get to his father's kingdom, which is in the north. And you must understand that in Greek mythology, no symbolism is more suited to represent Jesus than Perseus. And I've also said that Perseus may be, well, it's where we also get the word Persia, Iran. Now, remember in Isaiah, the Messiah is going to be somebody that we call Cyrus. Well, that's the Persian way of saying Osiris. Apollyon, anyone? Or is it some other huntress? Is it Eros? Is it Perseus? Perseus does wield the sword with which he kills Medusa and Cetus, the dragon. So Perseus is by far the closest symbolic representation to Jesus Christ, killing the dragon, saving the woman, and going to his father's kingdom, the great wedding. This is to a T. And Perseus is always on a white horse called Pegasus. And so Pegasus is the moral of the story, the apex of the story. Zeus and Apollon's the bad guy. Yeah, he's got a bow. He's trying to kill Eros. Love is kind of, Eros is a little bit like Perseus in a way. They both got swords. They're both battling Apollo. But it's not that cut and dry. So when we're looking at the book of Revelation, we're looking at two riders of a white horse. Two different ones. One with a bow, bringing wrath and destruction on the world. And one with a sword out of his mouth, bringing spiritual destruction on the darkness. We will see that here in a minute. At the North Star, Cephas is in the north. It's right near Polaris. And those are the immortal ones. They never go down over the horizon. But notice there's a big red dragon up there. Draco is trying to get to the throne. So all of this is playing out in the stars. And it almost seems to be a parable about not just stars, but about humans. We were the giants. We were the ones in heaven in a time of yore. And we sinned. We lusted after the men on earth, and we wanted to come down into the world and partake of this physical realm. And sometimes we were sent down here to be punished by Zeus. And when we're in the dark side of the wheel, it seems that we're in incarnations and we're being punished with the suffering. Atlas was punished to go down and hold up the world. And then there's the sinking of Atlantis, which has to do with the flood. All this is very crude symbolic language of our ancient past and history and the reason we're here and how we're dying. And so it has something to do with Christ, who is the Christ coming to defeat the dragon, but yet we got the Antichrist, who's also trying to defeat the dragon. Remember what we said, even Yahweh kills the twisted serpent, the Leviathan. But I think he does it in a way in which he doesn't completely get rid of this dragon. If the Old Testament says that Yahweh killed the dragon, and the Sumerian teachings and tablets say that Marduk killed the dragon, and it says that Marduk was the son of Enki, and Enki has some credit then. And I know that so many of you out there still believe that Enki and Enlil is, Enki's the good guy and Enlil's the bad guy. But that isn't true. Just by their names you can see Enlil is An, heaven, El. And Enki is An and Ki, which is earth. So that's the lower. He was the deity over the Lord of the earth. Some say a scientist. I don't believe that. But he is depicted as a scientist by people because they got this whole galactic federation in their minds. But he did do something in our Bible. Yahweh formed Adam from the dust of the earth. Some say he genetically modified them. I don't believe that. I think it's just talking about the lower ego that makes the lower forms. But one thing, and I know a lot of you aren't going to like this, but this is just a fact, and some of you have got to get this straight before you can get this all untangled. But Yahweh is Enki. There's no question about that. As I've said many times, there are two Enkis. There are two consciousnesses, the higher and the lower. So there is a good Enki, and Jesus is the good Enki. Just as that good Enki came to be known as Hermes or Thoth in this tradition. But the Enki that everybody's talking about in the Sumerian tablets, that's concerned with making man as a slave, that was Yahweh, the lower ego. That is from the line of Cain. There's two lines, Cain and Seth. And this is the flesh and the spirit. And there's two Enkis, there's two Methuselahs and Enoshes and Jareds and Lamechs. There's two of everything. Because it's really just all, both lines is us, the flesh and the spirit. The one that we have throughout the Old Testament that created the Torah is the lower deity of vengeance. But not all the way through the Bible is it talking about the lower one. We know from the Apostle Paul that in the book of Psalms where it mentions Yahweh or the Lord, it's talking about Jesus. Now, how could this be? Why this confusion? Because at Mount Sinai, the true Lord, Yahweh, looked down and said, you rejected me, so I'm going to send mine angel, and my name is in him. The lower ego, a fallen angel. All the way through, the Apostle Paul says the law was administered by the hand of angels, a fallen angel, it's the worship of angels. It's all about this fallen angel. And in the book of Acts chapter 7, it mentions this as well. So Yahweh that we understand that wrote Torah is the lower ego, a fallen angel, not the reality but a delusion. He's the lower ego, the vengeance. But the Enki that everybody's talking about is from the line of Cain. And we know that Yahweh is Enki, whatever Enki you're talking about, because in the Hebrew his name is literally written Enki. It was always written in the Sumerian Babylonian tablets. A lot of times it's Iya Enki. Well, Iya is just vowels, just like in our Hebrew, Yah is just vowels, Yah. Sometimes we say Yahweh or something, but it's just vowels, Iya. And the second word in the Hebrew at the beginning of Exodus chapter 20, where it gives you the Ten Commandments, says, I am Yahweh, and that is my name. It is written in the Babylonian tablets, Iya Enki. In the Hebrew, we have Iya Anoke. That's their way of spelling it or pronouncing Iya Enki. So Enki in the Hebrew is Anoki. Enki Anoki. It's the same word. Yahweh Anoki. That is his name in the Hebrew It doesn't translate it into English for you, Enki, but it's in the Hebrew. So, Enki is Yahweh, and his son Marduk is the one who killed the dragon, according to the Babylonians. And of course, in our Bible, Yahweh takes credit for killing the twisted serpent or the Leviathan in the sea. Well, this seems to fit Yahweh in our Bible, who says he killed the dragon. However, if Marduk had killed the dragon, why is it that the Greeks came along and they're still trying to kill the dragon? Everybody's still trying to kill a dragon. The British and the Vikings are still trying to kill the dragon. And now they're saying it's the Tartarians, you know. But something about the darkness. You know, I used to ponder that and wonder, what in the world, if the Vikings have heraldry with them riding a white horse killing the Tartarian dragon? I thought, well, how are we using this heraldry in connection with Scripture when they seem to be abusing the heraldry? They claim to be the white horse, but are they? Are we now going to say that the Vikings that destroyed Christianity were the good guys? Christianity was the dragon? No, they weren't killing Christianity. They claimed they were killing the Tartarian. China to this day still has this dragon, or Japan, or whatever. This is the old symbol of all of this Tartarian empire, was this dragon. And if you look at Russia today, they still got this kind of dragon thing. But it's usually with the white horse conquering it. So the only explanation is that they're looking at the ancient symbols, all of the nations. And it seems that they want to be the good guys. They believe they are. They're conquering darkness and sin and error and chaos and the ways of the past by progression. And so they have come up with law and order. Yahweh is the deity of the law, vengeance, and that destroys the darkness of chaos. However, it's not the right way. We've got to destroy the darkness with love, but they're trying to do it with force. So their heraldry is mistaken. They're not the white horse. They are the Antichrist. And their symbolism, the Viking symbolism in Britain and Denmark and the 10 Germanic tribes and all their heraldry, where they're the white horse, is actually the Antichrist. I know. Those poor saps. It seems to me that both are claiming to have killed the dragon. Both are presented murdering the dragon. And that's exactly what we have in the Bible. We've got a guy on a white horse with a bow primarily, which looks like Apollyon, which the Bible all the way through in the New Testament claims Apollyon is the destroyer, the Antichrist. And there's no way we can try to figure out how really the Antichrist is the good Christ. You can't do that. That's the Antichrist. Jesus is coming. He tells the Judeans, you won't receive me, you'll receive the Antichrist, and you will not see me henceforth until you say, blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. But when he comes in his own name, you will receive him. And so, all the way through, of course, the apostles are talking about the Antichrist is coming, and, oh, it's terrible, and this is the doctrine of Antichrist, and we don't want anything to do with this. So the Antichrist is coming, and it has something to do with Yahweh, because he's a vengeance. Yahweh's the deity of vengeance. And Yahweh is coming in his wrath. So the first horse, the white horse, is mimicking Christ, an antichrist, or an other or the opposite of Christ. But he's still wearing a white robe. He's got a crown, a golden crown, and he's got a sickle in his hand. Now, we're going to read that. Okay, I don't think Jesus is coming with a sickle. To do what? To put his sickle under the wheat, for the harvest is ripe. Well, didn't Jesus say the harvest is the end of the world and the angels are the reapers? So, is one of these angels that's going to reap working for the Antichrist? We'll get to this here in a second. None of this seems to make any sense at first glance. But it doesn't make any sense in the mythologies, because we've got these two sides. One's claiming to kill the dragon, and he thinks he's killed the dragon. Then another guy's just like, well, we're still trying to kill the dragon. But it seems like one group kills the dragon one way. Yahweh does it with law and order. He keeps the dragon down, or chaos, or the fleshliness. He keeps it down. He keeps it down with law and order. He defeats chaos and violence and evil in the world with his law and order. But that doesn't bring happiness and peace. People are still trying to get rid of it. The gods are still having children. Finally, out comes Eros, love. And guess what? She's not too happy with Apollyon. And she's got a sword. And so they have a kind of a duel. Well, Eros is love, and she gets together with Psyche. You see what I'm saying here? Eventually we get Logos. We get another, Marduk could do what his father Yahweh couldn't do. Kill the dragon, but he didn't do so good because the dragon comes back up. But it seems that Apollo really hated Eros, love. Now you're getting the idea that we're really talking about anthropomorphic personages, not really people, not even really stars, but powers that are in the universe. And love is a great power. And Eros had a bow, but that wasn't her forte. That was Apollo's forte, the bow. And when Eros could wield the bow as well as Apollo, it made Apollo mad. It's like, how dare you wield the bow like me? I'm the hunter. You're love. You can't handle a bow. Well, love can handle a bow, but it's probably going to be in a different way, isn't it? It's going to be in a spiritual way, right? Spiritual love is going to destroy hate, just like evil's going to destroy good. The difference is that good should be destroying hate, but evil should not be destroying love, you see. But Apollo didn't like Eros, or love, and she had a bow, and so Apollo mocked this little Eros, this little child. He mocked him. It's too childish to use a bow, right? And make people fall in love. Why? That's not going to do anything, making people fall in love. We've got to kill and hate. So Eros, or love, has to prove himself. Eros is the son of Ares. Ares is also a son of Zeus. So we're still in the same lineage from Saturn, Seth, Ham. So Eros shot Apollo with one of his golden arrows, and it made him fall in love with Daphne. But then Eros shot a lead arrow at Daphne so that she would hate Apollo. And it created this drama so that Apollo loved Daphne, but Daphne hated Apollo, and she would run away from him and hide. So finally, Apollo begged Eros to help him so that he could get Daphne and they could fall in love. So he was kind of like saying, look, you do have some powers. Love is kind of important. I mean, I do need this woman, so please help me. So is this kind of like saying Yahweh finally realizes that he needs help from love? And he's this big old strong guy, right? Big Apollo, the muscle man, the big bearded father in the sky that creates vengeance, and his name is Jealous. He's the destroyer. But now he's got to turn to love, who almost looks feminine, like a male, half feminine. A lot of these were androgynous. And he turns to Eros and he says, I need your help. I need love to make the kingdom work, to marry the woman. Well, it was love that got him interested in the woman in the first place, knowing that he'd have to come and use one of the arrows of Eros to, you're going to have the power of love to make things work, not law. So Daphne asked her father for help to get rid of Apollo. And her father said, okay, and he turned her into a laurel tree. A laurel tree. So Apollo was completely heartbroken and upset. like the rest of his life, he's upset and heartbroken. So he blesses this little laurel tree to be an evergreen and to never die. And he wore this laurel wreath around his head forever. And he always had resentment against Eros. Now, here's a story in Greek mythology that explains something to us. It explains that there is violence and there is battle. And there are two kinds of battle. There is the battle of destruction and hate, and there is the battle of love and getting victory over the emotions and the hate. So there's two sides doing battle, but one is a good war and one is a bad war. And the New Testament says the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are powerful in bringing down thrones and dominions and powers and principalities. But in spiritual dark places, we're going to do battle, but we're going to take down dark things. Now, this is going to blow your mind, and I don't want you to get too concerned right away as you're hearing this, because at first it's going to throw you into a tailspin, and you're going to wonder if everything you've ever known has been a lie. Before we get there, let me just tell you, be calm. Everything's going to be all right. We're going to understand this. It can be understood because it is understandable, because it wasn't written haphazardly. Every word is the word of the Lord. And they knew, these prophets and these priests, when they wrote this stuff, they knew what they were talking about. They weren't making a mistake. So just be calm and let's get to the end of this so we'll be able to figure this out. Revelation chapter 14, the Lamb and the 144,000. Okay, I've already done another hour. And I really hate to separate these two. But it is kind of like two different videos, because I primarily talked to you about Greek mythology and other ancient scriptures up to this point. And now we're going to go deeply into the Bible and see how this fits. It's imperative that you see the second video. We're not going to see today, we'll see tomorrow. I'm going to put it up tomorrow, I've already done it. It's imperative that you see this other video. But I'm afraid that if I make this video 2 hours long, nobody will watch it. So we're just going to do 1 hour today. You're going to like the video that you saw today. Might be a little bit more interesting because it's Greek mythology and some of you are into that. For those of you really interested in understanding the book of Revelation, you must see the video I do tomorrow. You must see it, because up to this point, no one in the history of understanding Revelation has ever understood it until you understand what we're about to tell you and what's going to be in this video tomorrow. And you had to have seen the stuff that we said today as well. You have to understand mythology and what these characters are talking about. And in order to understand the book of Revelation, you've got to know Greek mythology. I'm sorry, this is just, in the days of Jesus, they were aware of Greek and Sumerian and Babylonian mythology. Every nation understood these things. The giants that fell, the Nephilim. You're not understanding this correctly. Today, we're so confused. We're not understanding any of this ancient astrology, mythology, patriarchs, the Holy Scriptures. We're not understanding it. We will be able to understand it by the end of tomorrow's video. So I really encourage you to not only watch today's video, but watch tomorrow's video as well. But I'm going to let you go today, and I'm going to sign off. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and the Lord will bless you, and He will guide you. He loves you. He loves everybody on this earth. He has a plan that you're going to find out tomorrow is more brilliant and amazing than any plan you've ever seen in your life, and you're going to find out just how much the Lord loves you tomorrow. And you're going to find out things as we go along that is going to brighten your whole life. You're going to understand that you don't have to suffer. You don't have to be sad. We have to just learn the secrets of life that we're going to talk to you about. in the next video. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. Grace and peace be with you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.